Hi, everyone. I am going to talk to you about being a family child therapist, um, psychologist, really. And the organization I found was through LDS Family Services. You can find out more information on them on LDS.org and going through the welfare section. And there's a whole section about family services in the welfare section on LDS.org. The working environment, it's a friendly, caring, loving, safe environment atmosphere. And uh, you you know that LDS Family Services is a large organization, but it's consisting of smaller offices throughout the United States. I don't think it's worldwide, but I do know uh, missionaries have access to uh, mental health, um, and that's usually through the area offices. Um, anyways, the office that I'm going to share with you was through my career contact, which was Elaine Watkins. She is a family child psychologist in the Spokane, Washington office. So their office there in Spokane is a smaller office. They have two full-time therapists and two part-time therapists. The full-time therapists, they are on salary, and it's a typical 9 to 5, 40-hour week. However, one of the therapists is a traveling therapist, which means they could be working around the clock sometimes. So it just really depends. The part-time therapists are hourly or get paid per client that they see. Let's see, hours. Work hours are very flexible. It really just depends on what's going on, and you just need to be aware that you have to maintain the appointments that you've already set up with your clientele. But really, it's nice. It's a good work environment, and just be prepared for those kind of changes. Typical stressors. This is nothing new that we haven't already learned about. Ethic dilemmas, we've already talked about that. So there are some of those ethic dilemmas in this type of work. Also, the reporting of abuse and suicidal clientele. That's another one of those things. For LDS services, they have another one of their typical stressors is they have a certain computer system software that they work with, and if that goes down, it really just puts the whole entire office on standstill because you can't do anything or have any of that work get done because all of your paperwork and everything goes into that system, and if it's down, you just have to do everything longhand. Other stressors are dealing with other people's trauma and not having vicarious trauma, learning how to separate their trauma from your trauma. Burnout, we've talked about burnout, getting really tired of the same things over and over again. Angry clients, a lot of angry clients that come in, they don't like what you have to say, or pointing out that they've made a mistake or whatever it is that's coming up with this idea of why they're coming in to see you. The other thing is going overtime with your clients, making sure that you manage your time so that you don't go overtime, because then that puts you behind with all of your other clients that you're going to see, and you lose that time to do the paperwork, because everything's paperwork. Typical benefits are your health and dental as a full-time therapist, retirement, you get a retirement, a vacation time. If depending on the time of service that you give to LDS family, that will also carry over. Your insurance will carry over. The other typical benefit with working in this career field with this organization is because it's LDS based, you also have the tools of the gospel to bring into your sessions with your clientele. You are able to bring in those principles and doctrine of the gospel to help resolve any conflicts that are happening. in their lives. Common job tasks are direct contact, obviously, with your clients and the paperwork that goes along with it. Elaine says that she does a lot of consultations with the bishops. So bishops will call and say, I have this member of my ward, da 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 da, what do you recommend? And so there's a lot of those kind of consultations to make sure that they are there to help the members in the area. Weekly staff meetings, and again, if you're one of those traveling psychologists, then you're dealing with the travel too. Educational requirements. For the most part, you need to have at least a master's degree or higher. And we've talked about other certificates that you can have, the CFLR, the CFLE, and those. Elaine didn't say if those were necessary, but I can't see how they would hurt to be a certified family life educator. But really, we're talking more about being a therapist, a psychologist, than an educator. So those certificates probably would be helpful, but I don't know if they are necessary. The master's degree, doctorate degree, those are necessary. Starting salary, it's really around between $3,200 to $3,600 a year when you first start out. And then once you become an experienced salary, you're looking anywhere between $60,000 to $70,000 a year. But it also, that's for LDS Family Services, but you're also looking at what are your responsibilities, your duties. It could obviously be more or less depending on your responsibilities. For your part-time therapists, you're looking at, hourly wages. So are you really working the full 40-hour weeks? And so then you've got to break it down to by the hour. But then you also have the directors and the ones that are actually running each individual office within LDS services. So it really just varies depending on your experience and what your title is. Miscellaneous career information. So because it's a family child therapist, you could really work anywhere. You could work in community health. You could be in a school therapy, social work kind of thing. So if you end up being in community health, you have to realize that you will be on call, deal with those on-call nights and weekends sometimes, and interrupt your family home life. Some other things, you have clientele that become very dependent upon you, and learning how to not have that dependency happen is one of those skills that I don't know if is taught, or you just be aware that it's going to happen. Another one is running, because the LDS community is so small, you run into you have the chance of running into your clients in your wards and your stakes. For instance, Elaine is the Relief Society Stake Relief Society president, and so even with her job as a psychologist, she also works with the women in the stake, and so she runs that chance of running into them. And the other information that you need the career information that you need to watch out for is everybody wants advice and your opinion, and how do I take care of this and that. So that's another thing that's just going to happen just from the nature of what you do. So the information source, again, if you go to ldsfamily.org, and you can either type in family services or go through the welfare section, you'll be able to find out more information as what LDS Family Services offer, and how to go about that and getting where you need to be. But that's what it is, family and child therapist. I hope I answered all your questions. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.